everybody. Good morning. Happy Monday to you. Before we get started in the study today, I want to thank all of you who've already liked and subscribed. I want to remind you, though, you need to hit the bell icon if you want to be made aware when we have these videos come out. That might mean you have to set up a YouTube account. Very easy to do. If you have any questions, get a hold of maybe JT or I in the office. We can help you do that because we want to make sure that you get this information. I've heard a lot of good feedback from many of you already that you're really enjoying this. A great way to start your day. So I'd like to also encourage you to share this on your personal Facebook page. It'd be a great thing. If you're receiving anything from this, maybe some of your friends and loved ones would as well. It helps us to get the word out there. So let's get right into it. It is your Monday morning manna, your daily dose of dough, bread from heaven. 1 Thessalonians chapter 3 starts right here. We left off at ending chapter 2 last week on Friday. So today it says, "So when we could stand it no longer, we thought it best to be left by ourselves in Athens. We sent Timothy, who is our brother and co-worker in God's service in spreading the gospel of Christ, to strengthen and encourage you in your faith, so that no one would be unsettled by these trials. For you know quite well that we are destined for them. In fact, when we were with you, we kept telling you that we would be persecuted. And it turned out that way, as you well know. For this reason, when I could stand it no longer, I sent to find out about your faith. I was afraid that in some way the tempter had tempted you, and that our labors might have been in vain." Now, what we're seeing here is kind of a break from what we have seen. In the first two chapters, we see, a lot of this strong encouragement from Paul, telling him how great they're doing, what an amazing job that he's hearing about from Timothy. They're really staying in it. That's what he's doing. And now he's trying to kind of come to terms with some stuff. So you get a sense that there is some concern on Paul's part, that he is concerned somewhat that there's going to be a slip away, a fall away. And I have some notes here that I want to bring up that I have that we see that he is concerned for the Thessalonians. His big concern is that they're going to be tempted by who knows what. He doesn't really go into it. A little bit later in chapter 4, we're going to hear a lot about sexual impurity and immorality. And that kind of makes sense because we know also that this is a deep time of persecution for the church. So we know that many of these first century believers were being heavily persecuted in ways we can't even understand. So maybe he's thinking that there will be a play on that through persecution that will cause them to be tempted to deny their faith and to deny their Savior. We also are starting to see a little bit of a distorted view of the second coming. And we're going to talk about that later on in the week too, and how we know that. And it becomes clear, it is important to Paul, very important to Paul. We see that these Thessalonians do not veer away from what that has been brought into them through the church. We know that persecution existed. Like I said, there were some distorted views of the second coming, and this is a ripe situation for temptation to come in and cause a believer to maybe not be so sound in their faith. So I want you to catch something as we wrap up this first day. All up to this point, all last week, in the first two chapters of this letter, and let's stop here and take a look at that. Remember, we view this as a book in the Bible. It is part of that. It is part of canon, and it is absolutely that. But in its original context, it was literally a letter written by Paul to the church, something that was to be read to them. And he starts out the first two chapters. Now, the letter would not have had chapters and verses, but he starts out with these first two sections of this letter, nothing but encouraging. So he's built them up in the faith. He's really done it. He's done a really good job. And if you were with us last week, you know that. If not, go back and watch it. It won't take you 20 minutes to see all of them. They're real brief. And now he's coming to it with kind of the guts or the body of the letter is what we're getting into right now in chapter 3. And what he's saying is, be careful. There's a tempter out there, and the situation is ripe for temptation to rear its ugly head and lure you away. That's your devotion for the day. We live in a ripe scenario. We live in a very secular world in a very secular time. And whether you're in your workplace, at home, wherever you wind up going, there is temptation. You can hardly put the television on and not be tempted in one way or another. It is just out there. And it's no different from the Thessalonians. What we know is that there is an issue with sexual immorality. And that was probably brought in from some of the pagan believers in their practices in the past. But sexual immorality is a thing today. The lust of the flesh exists. So be mindful of that as you walk in faith today. Encourage each other to be mindful of those things. And that's your devotion for the day. Hey guys, as always, remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be made aware every time we put out a new video. Also, go out and bless somebody else today. Go do something amazing for somebody else. Don't expect anything in return. Watch what happens in your life. We'll see you tomorrow.